Rich,
Yes?
I don't know about you, but after talking to Lyle Workman, I feel like I need to start a band.
I feel like we need to start a band. Okay, so listen, sign me up. Just let me know what instrument you want me to play.
Okay.
I'm there.
I think I see you playing the guitar.
You do?
Yes.
Okay,
I do.
let's do it. Guy's a legend. I mean, he's worked with so many people within the industry. I mean, Beck, Sting, Todd Rundgren. I mean, don't even get me started on Lyle's film scores.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a mastermind behind the music in Superbad, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and so many more. His work is woven into some of the biggest films and TV shows out there.
I know. And listen, his journey is just as cool as his music. From starting out as a touring guitarist to composing Hollywood. I mean, Lyle's career is proof that artists really never stop evolving.
I know, they really don't, right? I mean, and let's be real. His stories are just as legendary as his music. I mean, you know, the behind-the-scenes moments and the unexpected turns and the way he approaches composing, it was mind-blowing.
It is, you know, and just like any great solo, Lyle, we ran out of time. So, Lyle, you've got to come back.
Yes, please. But until then, get ready to step inside the mind of a music legend.
People, let's jam.
Let's jam.
Lyle Workman, film composer, musician, most talented individual. We are so honored and blessed to have you here today. Thank you very, very much for coming in.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate it.
Awarded too. I mean, you had a little standing ovation when you were on stage at the Poppy Jasper Film Festival.
Oh, it's very nice.
I think you even had your little groupies there because I think there was a lot of people that wanted to talk to you. I don't know if you knew that. I think Maddie and a couple of us were saying, no, leave him alone. He's here to have a good time as well.
No, don't leave me alone.
Don't leave me alone. You
we
want
love
the
it.
attention.
We love it. Well, I'm from San Jose, so that was a very special moment, you know, and also having Randy, you know, announce me and say some nice stuff, and a lot of the work is just by myself, so you don't really know the effect that what you do has on other people. A lot of most of the time you don't. That's why it's really fun going to the premiere. You see people actually react to the work. That's a real fun thing. It's like one of my favorite aspects.
It's funny. So we've been discussed this a few times over the last couple of days, but when because I come here every couple of months, so you end up sitting on a plane, listening to music or listening to a film, watching a film, and half the time I fall asleep. But when I'm half asleep and I've still got a film playing, you realise how much of a film is actually music, that is the score, and how little is actually dialogue. So when you actually to look at it from that perspective, as we said before we started, music is the soul of a film. It's the guts of it, really. It's the emotive part of it, because it gives, you know, if something sensitive, if something catastrophic is about to happen, it's the music that builds. Jaws, you know, when the shark in the water, which you hardly ever saw, it was the music that built up to it that got all the audience like on the edge of their seat.
Right.
So what you do is phenomenal. How did it start? What was the catalyst to get you into music?
The Beatles.
Okay.
The Beatles?
You know, yeah, for people my generation. That's probably the number one answer you're going to hear.
Yeah, I know. We've actually heard it quite a few times.
Yeah, just the scope, the universe that they created in music, which was in a way a good education, because you're getting through them popular music from the 40s and the 50s, you know, Paul McCartney stuff like Martha My Dear, something like that, which was like music his dad listened to, you know, and then rock and roll.
Your parents did you grow up in it? Yeah.
Well, they both love music.
Okay.
So my mother loved the rock and roll of the day, which would have been Fats Domino and Chuck Berry and Elvis Presley, you know, that kind of stuff. Where my dad was more about country music. Good country music, meaning Hank Williams and that kind of stuff.
Got
you know.
it. It sounds like your mom's taste of music probably influenced you a little bit more, no?
I could relate more.
Yeah, to your mom.
Though as I became older, some of the aspects of country music are definitely in me too. You know, some of the guitar playing.
Right.
Music was on. We had the little record player. It was on all the time. It was definitely. Between that and seeing the Beatles, you know, We're not seeing them physically, but
Right.
but I remember seeing them on TV. I had to be maybe 6 years old or something like that, and I remember.
Oh, so you were young and it impacted you at that
Yeah,
age.
and so all the records came out. So got every single record, and
Did your parents play an instrument?
my dad played a little bit of guitar,
Okay.
but just for fun. Come home from work and just
Right. And just unwind.
play cowboy songs, kind of.
But did that become your instrument of choice because of
Yes.
that?
Yes, and so I got a guitar, and then he taught me the basic chords, and I would just listen to the Beatles records and then play my guitar. Oh, this shape, that's the same shape there. So I had a good ear, so I could pick stuff up and teach myself the songs. So I was playing a lot of Beatles songs.
And this was growing up where?
This was in San Jose, California.
San Jose, California. Okay.
So did you learn to play music by ear to start with?
Yes.
Before you could actually before you could read music?
For a long time, yeah.
I feel like a lot of musicians have
Yeah.
that talent. I think that's
It
where their
is.
superpower starts coming in to play, right? And in anything that you decide to do, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that you do best with the least amount of effort, that becomes like your thing. And then,
Yeah.
so were you writing music when you were a kid, or you were just
No.
playing? Okay.
Just playing, just learning.
So you had a band in high school?
Yeah, not
or-
until high school.
Yeah, okay.
Then that's the time. Now it's a Led Zeppelin and the Who,
Right.
those kind of bands. So that was the stuff that I liked when I was in high school. So you've got to be in a band in high
Right.
school.
What was your band's name? Do you remember?
Well, there was one called Alpine,
Alpine?
and then the one that was when I was, I guess this is right after high school, directly out of high school, was a band called Chronics.
Chronics.
That's K, with a K and an X.
Oh,
Say K-R-O-N-I-X.
it's very intentional.
Well, it's kind of new wavy. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
What is your favourite genre of music? What do you, if you're listening to, or are you just broad?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I find, like, even when I speak with really great jazz musicians, well, I don't consider myself a jazz musician, although I can play aspects of jazz. But people that are very, very good at that style, and I ask them and what they like, and it's the same thing. It's essentially, if it's good music, it's good. It doesn't matter the style.
Right.
Whether it's a great country song, a great pop song, a great rock and roll song, great reggae. If it's good, if it has integrity, some sort of creative spirit about it, I find that all musicians react to that kind of music.
Yeah.
So I don't really find people are sort of in one lane with what
Okay.
they like. It's generally the best musicians like all kinds of music that I've found.
Right.
In a band.
School, college. What came next?
For me, it was being in bands that started playing clubs, and then from that, being in a band that was playing a lot of club dates, and we got popular locally, and a scout from Island Records heard about us. I guess an A&R guy would call the clubs, and if there was a band or bands' names he kept hearing often, they'd go take a trip and see him. So an agent from Island Records came out and saw us and said, "We want to sign you." That's what happened.
And that was at what age?
Oh, I was probably 25 maybe, something like that. It was a band called Bourgeois Tag, based out of Sacramento. Yeah, this is a time where you're making very little playing club dates.
Right.
I think I supplemented it with giving guitar lessons.
Yeah.
I literally lived in a house with 4 guys, and I was in the smallest room, which was basically a modified closet, about the size of that room there. We had enough for a bed and a
Yeah, or
dresser.
everyone had to be laying down because if you got up,
Yeah,
it was too
exactly.
It was too crowded.
Yeah, and there would be orange tree, and so I would go to at this point I was living in San Jose, and the band I was in Bourgeois Tag was based in Sacramento, so I would just bring a bag of oranges, so I just have extra food, extra snacks.
And during this whole journey, were your parents supportive of you being a musician? They were.
Well, they loved
okay.
music very much.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so they thought they loved it, and they saw that I had talent, so there was always support
Oh, that's
in that
great.
area for me.
That's great. That's great. Because those that don't, those are always harder stories. But sometimes that also shapes you, right? Because you want to prove your
I'll show
siblings.
them.
Exactly. I'll show them, and then I'll take a picture and show it to them. But that also shapes you. But it seems like you were encouraged through this through your.
I was encouraged, but I really didn't need it because I was inspired.
Who inspired you?
Well, again,
Yeah.
the same.
Okay. So those. But was there
Yeah,
anyone?
basic music that I liked inspired me. I wanted to learn how to play that music, whatever it was.
It was the music.
You see in that something you want to aspire to, whether it's great guitar playing or songwriting or performing, all those things really. It's just, and also you got to think about in the mid 70s, about the coolest thing you could be as a musician in a band.
Right.
If you're walking down the street and you're carrying a guitar case, people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's not like that today.
I think you're a busker.
No, I think
Well,
you're homeless.
Yeah.
So music was your mentor, basically.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I mean, that's almost a calling. So
I would think so, especially since my parents liked music, and my dad played the guitar, but it wasn't like I had this incredible DNA. My dad was a great jazz musician, or both parents were classical trained musicians. It was none of that. It was just something that I really wanted to do, and I had a little help with a good ear. And
at 25, did you know the direction you wanted to go in, or was you still finding your way?
Well, at that point, it was still being in a band,
Sure.
making music, doing records, touring, playing live. That was it at that time.
How did you transition to the next phase in your career? So how long was you in a band for? How long were they in circulation for?
Well, that first band, Bourgeois Attack, was 5 years, so we did 2 records. The band broke up. The second record that we did, the last record, was produced by Todd Rundgren.
Okay.
So we were big fans, and then Todd Rundgren enlisted our band to be basically his band. And so from that, at that point, it was 2 more years playing with Todd Rundgren. And so at that point, people started to recognize me as a studio musician. And so I started getting that kind of work as well.
Were there any people there during your journey that were giving you the breaks? Because I feel like that's the other thing too, where when you have aspirations, but then there's certain individuals that come into your life and be like, you know what? I'm going to give you a shot. Why don't you come here and work?
Essentially, anyone that would hire me.
That's awesome.
If you're doing something people like and they want part of that for their project, they're going to hire you.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
From being in a band to composing, and when you were in the band, did you compose music? So you?
Oh yes, yeah. I wrote. So when I was a kid, when I say kid, I mean 12, 13, 14. I always had a little tape recorder, so I would record my guitar into the tape recorder. I'd record stuff on the TV. If it was a band playing on a TV show, I'd record it and try to learn from that. Little reel to reels.
Emulating what you were seeing.
So then I would write little half songs or chord progressions. Make up little words, or it was the beginning of my songwriting. So I always had a method of recording myself, and that really basically just got more and more sophisticated as I became more sophisticated as a musician, both as a player and as a songwriter, and eventually composer. It's just the technology had to increase in order for me to be able to do the things I wanted to do.
So within your band, you wrote some of the music?
Yes.
Cool. And then moved on from there. So when the band split and you went after there did you go straight into film? Or
No, there was a little bit of time. At that point, the band broke up, a couple of years with Todd Rundgren, and then they did about 5 years with an artist named Frank Black, or also known as Black Francis. He's the founder of the band Pixies.
Okay.
Interspersed in that is studio work, playing other people's records. The studio work, and specifically playing guitar on another composer's scores, through him is how I got my break to compose.
Okay.
Through that connection. Also through the studio work was a connection led to co-scoring a Jon Favreau film.
Which film was that?
It was called Made.
Okay, yeah.
So it was Swingers, and then Made was the second one. So that was my first film. And so it was basically having that film under my belt, then meeting this other composer, and through this composer, I ended up with a vice president of music at Universal in my studio, because he wanted a guitar player for his own personal project. And I made sure that I had made, prior to him coming, I made a CD of my own music from that movie Made, as well as some of my other instrumental music and some stuff. And I sent him off with it. And he called me and goes, I really like what you're doing, and would you want your hand in writing some additional music for a movie? And that eventually led to this film that Judd Apatow was one of the producers. And then, so I got music in that film. Judd then signed a directorial deal with Universal, and his first movie was 40-Year-Old Virgin, and his music executive championed me, and Judd liked what I had done for the movie and gave me a chance to essentially audition by doing a couple scenes, writing some music, and I got the job that way. And that's sort of being at the right place at the right time part of it. Where the luck comes in is having the movie be so successful. Broke all kinds of summer records and was #1 for a couple weeks in a row. And I was basically an unknown.
At that time?
Yeah.
Oh, so that really elevated you.
Yeah, I basically kind of skipped to the
to the front of the line.
Yeah. After I'd done Made, I thought, okay, I guess what composers do is get agents, get representation.
Right.
I couldn't get a meeting with anybody.
What?
Seriously?
Because it was just an independent film that cost $5 million and made $5 million.
So they saw it almost like a one-hit wonder kind of deal, right?
Well, it just wasn't that big of a movie.
Okay.
You know, it was very modest, independent film. So that wasn't enough to get anyone really interested in me. But now getting this movie with Judd and having it, I didn't have an agent, so everybody wanted to represent me. So I went from nobody's interested to everyone was interested.
Right.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing about the industry, isn't it? I mean, you could be the most talented person, but it's the association of something that it's just almost like these are the 3 boxes you have to tick.
Yeah.
And if you don't tick out those boxes, then it's like you're not validated. It's like someone else has to validate you.
You have to have some big moment.
Totally.
You have to
totally.
You know, it was so in the other side of my career, playing on a record that a bunch of people liked.
Right.
That will get you more work.
Yes.
You know, it could be really good, but if people don't see it or hear it, then it's really hard to even if the music's really great.
I know.
You know, so that's kind of been the key for me to have these doors opening is having been part of things that were successful.
Yeah. Do you like co-writing? You mentioned when you were first co-writing. I always wondered how co-writing works. Like, how does this? I mean, first of all, the partnership has to work well. You have to feel comfortable with each other. But when
being in a band is kind of co-writing.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it is being in a band
together. Especially if you look at the bands back in like Genesis and yes, they basically lived together.
They did.
It's I got this little bit here, Nate. You know,
exactly.
what about this? You know, and then 3 months later they got this record or whatever it is. I've only composed one time, and the rest has been.
So you play off each other, and I think also too when you do off that. Well, first of all, you have to all like each other. There has to be something that connects you, and then you build off each other, right? I think but that's the magic. I feel.
It's basically like any other collaboration.
Yeah.
You know, in a working relationship,
Right.
you're working together, but the other person can maybe see things that you don't.
Exactly.
So listen, I suppose you're working with like-minded people. You know, obviously you've got the same goal, but your work ethic is the same. The type of thing that you're aiming to get towards is the same.
You're aligned. When you're aligned, things are easier, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no blocks. It's more like build on it or expand on it or go deeper. You go in it's like a different wavelength almost energetically.
And a lot of times a collaboration can be mostly built upon skill sets. So, in the case of this movie with Jon Favreau called Made, the person that was hired, he brought me into it because he saw that there's things I could do that he wasn't as good at, and vice versa. So, okay, you do that, you handle that part of it, and okay, Lyle, so you can be that part of the music or an aspect of the score that would be a little bit more in my world. Would go to me and vice versa.
You know, at the Poppy Jasper Film Festival, when they played your reel, it was just like, keep it going. It was just, you had people cheering because you take people back, right? What it meant. And of course, like anything, music really does evoke emotion. But out of all your projects thus far, do you have like some of your favorites or some of your memorable projects that you want to kind of share a little bit of behind the scenes and why they impacted you?
No.
Okay, we got to come up with another question now.
No.
I just killed 10 minutes.
I know, exactly.
The first things that come to mind is working with people that that you really respect. And in the case of Todd Rundgren was a big one for me because I had loved his music for a long time.
Yeah.
And so having him produce the band I was in was huge. And then when he asked us to be his band, that was yeah. So I think about that particular period of my life, and I'm very fond of it. The thing is, when you get those opportunities to work with people that you really respect and love what they do, it brings the best out of you.
Oh.
You know, it's just you're at the top of your ability because you're so inspired and you want to be. You want to bring your best self.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say rise to the occasion, but you're just inspired to.
Yes.
Right.
You know, any.
Well, you birth something new too, and as someone who creates things, like you're constantly looking to either innovate or create something out of magic of the sheer fact of having four beautiful souls together that are just, you know, they're just doing their thing, right? And,
Yeah.
And you trust. There's a trust aspect that's attached to it too, I feel like.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I worked at Lucasfilm, one thing, my favorite meetings at Lucasfilm were when we would get everyone together and we're working on character development, and then someone would say something, then, you know, the artist would just get up on the whiteboard and just start drawing, and then somebody else would get something, pull out a guitar and start playing notes, and it literally felt like it was a true war room almost.
So you're saying character development
for you know, TV series and, you know, the films that we were working on.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So we're talking about, because we'd go a little deeper on the character, right? What would the character like? What would he do? Blah, blah, blah. And it would be something even associated that maybe it wasn't going to be on the film or the TV series. It's just we were trying to bring the character to life so we can create scenes and we can just build off each other. And it was, you know, sometimes it was literally we were trying to solve something, or we were just trying to stir creativity in the room, right? So then we could problem solve something else.
And that's working in tandem with writers?
Yes, exactly. It would have writers, artists, direct, you know, we would have a little bit of everyone in the team, almost like a little bit of the cast and crew. But one thing I really loved is when everybody was there, being their authentic self and contributing. Like we, you know, and you could feel when someone's contributing and no one's really hoarding the mic, so to speak. Everyone's really balancing off each other. You birth some amazing stuff, and you almost go into this euphoric, I don't know, I almost feel like you're drugged or something, and it just comes out beautifully. And that was one thing that I like to say, that working under George, he always taught me, when you're in the presence of that, never interrupt the magic. Just let it go. Because there's times where your ego's like, oh, but that goes against the blah, blah, blah. Don't, shut up.
Yeah.
Just let it go, because it then, I mean, I would imagine that that's probably what, you know, when you come out of a session, you're like, oh my God, we just came up with our first single, or, you know, projects are created that way. It's beautiful when that happens, but it does start with getting the right people in the room.
And you kind of touched upon something. The biggest value is to be the listener, and not the presenter.
There you go.
You know, and so
There you go.
I'm much more happier to listen than I am to speak and give my ideas. I'd rather hear what other people have to say, which I think that, having said that is helpful to be a composer, because you really have to listen. You know, it's all a listening. It's so important to the process, and that's also when you learn. You really learn by saying things you already know. You learn by listening to what other people have to say.
You're obviously a highly creative individual, because you know you're taking. I take it when you're creating a score for a film, you're sitting down. You maybe early development. You're getting understanding what the story is about, hearing what the characters are like, character development, and then you're writing music to fit those people, those characters. That must take a lot. I mean, the intelligence and the integrity and the just sheer skill that you must have to be able to do that is second to none. But it must be, for you, it must be like an amazing journey doing that, because every time you're doing something, you're doing it from fresh, because every story is different. You know, some are, you know, it might be a love story, it might be a thriller, it might be an action film, whatever it is. So the type of music that you're creating for that film is going to vary each one. It must be, I mean, you must love that. It must be great sitting there.
Yes, it's you know, there can be aids by means of temporary music that's placed.
Sure.
In the director and a music editor or a film editor will put placeholder music.
Right. Okay.
Just to have a place, just to have something to start from, which could be run the gamut from we really like the way this music feels to
Right.
we hate this music, but we had to find something just to give it some pacing.
Sure.
And sometimes there's no music where it is a little bit more, or it is a bit more just, we don't know what this needs. It feels it needs something
Sure.
amazing or very difficult. Because the difficult part might be working with directors that don't know. They're not really sure, or even if it's right, they don't know if it's right. And just the aspect of music can be very difficult for some people. You know, it's just not it's really not their thing, you know what I mean? So you hope that they have trust in you, which happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. The composing world it really runs the gamut. It could be the greatest thing in the world, or it can be very difficult. You know, that's just the reality of it.
You're the expert. You're the professional in that room in terms of music. So if you're up against a director that is like, I'm not sure, I don't like it, but you know 100% that is the right music for the film, do you hold your line? Is it something that you say, right, no, this is how it has to be, or do you have to conform to what a director? Acquiesce is probably a better word. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You're providing a service, and it is.
Sure.
You're on the clock.
Yeah, you're there hired to give them what they want.
Right.
Right.
Sometimes you can be with. Now I've had situations where I did one movie. They had music temped in temporarily. What I wanted to do was something completely different. Like particularly was this opening scene where we're getting to learn the character, and there was a song placed in there, a really popular song. What I had said to the director, who had been used to this temporary music being in there for a long time, he liked it. My viewpoint was, well, people are going to hear this song. And they're going to think about, oh yeah, I was in high school when that song was out. And we're setting up this character. I would like to accompany this character. This character, you know, not the song that was written in 1973. We had a show and tell in my studio. He came and he listened. He saw the cue and he goes, and he didn't have any reaction. He goes, "Can I see it again?" And I said, "Sure." So and that happened about 5 times in a row. Because I think I just need to sit with it. And then I love this. I love this piece of music. I can't believe how much better it is. But, you know, he had to just reframe it for him. So that was a perfect scenario in where the director will trust the person who's the person in charge of making music, who has had a whole lot of time doing it, who has a lot of history doing it and experience. Getting that trust is it's nice when that happens. You're allowed to do what I feel is your best work when you have that kind of relationship. And of course, you know, they might want tweaks or always, that's great. I might interpret a scene incorrectly as opposed to the way he was seeing it, he or she. So I make adjustments and it's a very collaborative scenario that runs every aspect.
You kind of have to play, I would imagine, because you're right. It's at the end of the day, it's the director, right? Someone else's film. You have to interpret it.
Yeah.
But you also are.
It's not my baby at all.
It's not your baby,
No.
but you also are creative and you're an expert in what you do, and that's why they're hiring you. So I would imagine it's a careful dance where you're like, all right, let's try again tomorrow. In some of the situations where you felt very strongly about it should go a certain way, but because it's there to enhance, right, and pull people further into the story, right?
Yeah. And sometimes the collaboration could be beautiful, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're just not on the same creative wavelength.
Right.
And as a result, a lot of composers will just get fired as a matter of course. You know, it's typical. It's not. Let me put it this way: it's not uncommon for great composers to get fired off of projects.
So a question for you. So
just the nature of the business.
It's nature of the business you're in. Question for you. So you have a script, you have a film, you're watching the rushes, and you're getting an idea of the character. How, in your mind, how do you put the music together? I mean, it might sound a bit of a silly question, but you're having to create music from the ground up. It doesn't exist. Okay, so it's like writing music. I suppose music is like writing a story, musically. So you're creating that. I mean, where does the melody come from? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, you don't. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. You don't pull off a shelf and say.
No, he's going to say it just is. Look, see?
I don't know. I don't know how it happens. It's magical to me.
Yeah.
It is. It's magic.
That's
why
all I
Lyle's
can
alive.
say is that you get a feeling from seeing something or reading something, and you feel what that feeling is, and you play an instrument. What comes out is a result of that. But how that happens.
It's amazing when you witness, as I was saying, going back to what I was saying, when you witness this happening, it's as if you're actually seeing someone's soul. You get lost into this. It's just you're making up words in a language, but then when it comes out, you're like, holy crap, that's what was going in your head. Oftentimes when I was talking even to like the sound editors at Skywalker Sound, I'm like, what's going in your brain? Can you just show me a sliver of the algorithms and the numbers and the symbols that's going on there? But you're feeling things. A lot of them would tell me, no, we feel it. We see already the end. We don't know how we're going to get there, but we already see the end. And somehow you go into your space and you go there, which I would imagine that's what you do as an artist, right? When you were writing music, you hear notes. Do you walk every day and you're like hearing your own melody in your head, and you just, here it is. It's coming. Here's the output.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, yeah.
For me, I have to kind of get in the right space.
Yeah.
But things like, there can be some technical aspects that kind of help. Like, it's a very nervous character, or let's say, a scenario where a character is saying something. Let's say it's really funny what he's saying,
Right.
but there's a whole lot of pain behind what he's saying, and so, we don't want funny music, but what can we do to get in his head a little bit more?
Yes.
What's this like caustic sarcasm or something like that? There's a reason. It's funny, the words, but there's something else going on underneath that. Yeah. What's that? Can we bring some of that? Because the thing is, for me, the really good music is providing subtext, and not just giving you the same exact thing that you're saying. It's providing something else. It's providing another layer that adds some depth to it.
It does, but also, I suppose what you're doing is you're writing the music. You then select the instruments that are going to play that music.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got two tiers there. So you're having to think on multiple levels at the same time to think, no, that's going to be better being a saxophone, or that's better a guitar, or that's better a piano.
Yes.
And I can't tell you the joy that it brings when you watch a film, because the scores, I've got loads of scores on my phone. There's certain that I just love to hear, I love to listen to sometimes, because it brings back memories of when watching a film, or certain parts in a film that have meant something.
The scenes, it really heightens the scenes, and it's a raft. Like the score, you're just going down this river and it's going fast, slow, lazy, but you stay on there. And in you yourself, as a viewer, you just get lost in it, and you're getting lost in the emotion you're watching, whether it be heartache or laughter or joy or abandonment. It really just, it like draws it out, and you're almost like you're crying inside. So that's the beauty of what the soundtracks do, and that's what, oftentimes it makes the film, and vice versa, right? Like really do work together, the sound and the music. And no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch, but it's more beautiful to see the artist. Like, you guys are just like witches or something. You're just brewing your thing. And Lyle's not going to tell you. That's a secret. That's what makes Lyle Workman get work.
Oh, there's no secret, really.
No, it's not so much that. It's just a case of understanding. I suppose when you get to hear your music played out on a soundstage, it must be.
Okay.
Once it comes to life.
Now that's the tip. That's the tip. That's the top of it.
Yeah. That's got to be.
When you've been spending your time in your studio working, staring at a computer screen, working with a computer. Now you've got 70 people playing your music.
Hello.
That's the best.
That's got to be the best drug in the world.
It really is.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It's the best part.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of it, being in that studio.
So Lyle, what projects do you have brewing now?
No films right now.
Okay.
Project I've been working on with Meta of all companies, and it's basically providing library music, or music that's free to anyone on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
I've been doing it for 7 years. something like 250 songs in.
Ooh, is that so we can develop our little reels in our stories?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Music
That's
behind
exactly
it.
right.
Put music behind it.
There's, I think they've got something like 8,000 or 9,000 songs.
Yes,
They've got
they have a lot of
multiple
songs.
writers.
Yes.
But I've been doing it in between other work.
Right.
And so that's kind of been an ongoing thing. And your music is heard billions of times, throughout the world. And it's been really fun for me because the people who have hired me really like what I do. So they let me do what I do. And I've released, and then I've also allowed their content creators to put the music out. So I've got about 20 records out.
Oh, you do? Okay.
In 2020, I released 17 records.
17 records?
EPs/records.
Yeah.
So it's all on Apple Music, Spotify, under my name.
That's great. Oh, well, we're about to make our Instagram stories and our, much better with your music then behind them.
Yeah, it's all there. I mean, it's.
What was project or film are you most proud to have worked on? What would you say is your highlight?
I think the one that probably at the top would be Superbad.
Okay.
Oh, Superbad.
I thought the movie was a classic, iconic comedy that defined a generation.
Yeah.
And also the other aspect that was really great about that is the music for Superbad that I wrote, in keeping in the spirit of the other music the songs that were placed, which was all 70s funk and soul, James Brown, Parliament, Bootsy Collins, all that stuff. So I was able to hire those people as my band.
It must have been amazing.
So I got to work with the architects of the music as my band.
What was the ultimate
And we spent 4 days at Capitol Records, making the music.
That's been such a
I'd written
thrill.
it before, and it was all demoed out, written it ahead at that time, and I'd sent the music out to all the musicians. And so that was a real special experience, and some of those guys have passed away since. But it was just a combination of that music, the importance of the film, and there's other films I like for different reasons, different parameters.
Right.
But that one is kind of it's fun. It was a fun project to make.
Do you get to play live? I mean, obviously we saw you play live at the Poppy Jazz, but do you still enjoy it? I take it you do.
Yeah, I just finished 7 weeks on the road with Sarah McLachlan.
Yes.
We're going to do...
You're up in the Bay Area.
Yeah, we played Berkeley, the Greek Theater. We were here at the Hollywood Bowl. And then I'm going out for another month in the fall, a week in the States and then 3 weeks in Canada, because she's a Canadian artist.
And then you're giving yourself a break?
And then I do another, the thing with Sarah was a 30th anniversary of one of her big records called Fumbling Towards Ecstasy. So it's the 30-year anniversary of that record. And the thing I'm doing after this tour with Sarah is another 30-year anniversary of a record. But this time I participated in it, and that was with that artist, Frank Black, from Pixies. So we're going to do 3 weeks performing that record.
And it's going to be here in the U.S. or?
We're doing 12 or 13 dates. We're going to be here in L.A., yes. I think we're playing the Orpheum.
Okay. Oh, the Orpheum.
Yeah.
That's such a great venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be a great buzz when you're standing on stage and you've got an audience.
Well, that's what I did for so long.
Yeah.
See, I did that was my life. Was playing in bands, touring with other people, as a sideman in other people's bands. Then the film scoring took over, and then I didn't have time to do that stuff. So there was a very long break. Prior to Sarah, the longest tour I did, the most substantial tour was in 2005 with Sting, being in part of his band. So and then from 2005 to 2024, a couple select dates here in town, a few small things. But in terms of we're going to be on a tour bus or a plane or whatever.
And you were worldly. I mean, you were traveling, right, from one country to another country.
Yeah.
That must be different too, to feel that energy from fans and from when you're traveling, when you're changing cultures as well, right?
It's the power of music.
Yeah, I know.
It's the universal language.
It's a universal language. That is so true.
It is actually. When you think about music now, you think any song. Like most songs or most popular songs tend to be either British or American, global. Doesn't matter what language you speak.
Well,
you don't translate it into any other language. It's played and it's listened to in its native.
And the thing is that music brings people together. that's the thing. You don't even have to speak the language, but if a song's coming out and they're bopping their head and they're moving, they're like, oh, well, that I like them too. And that just like immediately, that's something that you start connecting people with.
It's the one thing that all humanity shares is music. It's the thing that can communicate to every. Doesn't matter whatever your political stance are or what your, how you were. It's the one thing that connects us all, I feel.
If you think about it, 400 or 500 years ago, people never knew music. Most people didn't know what music was like. Yes, you might have been elite in society, but poor people didn't know music was because most people, music wasn't played anywhere.
Well, what about drums and what about sticks and
there's been music for a long time.
Yeah, different types of music. It's evolved.
But regional, very regional.
It's been very small. What I'm saying is, like, we have the benefit now. You can download music. You can go anywhere. You can't go anywhere without hearing music on something.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, we are very fortunate at the times that we live in, because back then, 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago, before the advent of wireless, when people would sit around a wireless and listen to music, or the original record players, they didn't have that joy in their home. It's only recently, if you think about it, that we have the ability to listen to music, enjoy it, stream it, whatever it is.
Play it over and over and over again until your neighbor says, all right, already with that song. And you're just like, oh, I'm not done with the story in my head.
Right.
That happened to me not that long ago. My kid neighbors downstairs are like, all right, Norman, we know you like Sting, but why is the song still playing over and over again? And the thing is, you get so caught up in a memory or an emotion and you forget. But you need the music as a reminder, right, in the background. I mean, it just goes how powerful sound is. But Lyle, one thing we like to do with our guests is we like to play a little game. So to your right, there's a box there full of cards, and we'd like to ask our guest to pick one. And these are deep-rooted questions. So
anyone you want.
You pick a card. Read the question out loud, take a moment, answer it, and we will answer the same question.
Just pick anyone?
Anyone you want.
He's smelling the deck here, people. All right. Pick a good one, because we want to answer.
Pick a good one. Can I change it? No. If someone wanted to annoy you easily, what would they have to do?
Ask me on the podcast.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Ask me questions.
Ask you questions. Uh-oh, we've annoyed Lyle, everyone.
Is this the one you want me to answer?
If you like it, yeah.
Not respect another human being.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Or not listen to them. Not act with kindness towards another human being. That would be, seeing that is very difficult. I mean, I could make a whole list of things.
Okay, yeah.
Having to wait at the doctor's office for an hour and a half. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the first part of that was probably better.
Okay.
My answer.
What would you?
I would add, not only will it annoy me, it would make me very upset when people bully other people.
Oh, that's another one, of course.
That immediately, I could feel it. I could even see it happening. When I could feel it happening, I'm getting annoyed. But when they're really going at it, I get upset. And it could even be something simple as at Starbucks or whatever. You're at a cafe and a manager is belittling another manager, or their subordinate, or is getting very, very upset, or is just poking and making them fail. Or I can't stand when people do that to one another. And because and to see the person, the victim, like shrug his or her shoulders and just become like they want to be invincible. I don't like it, invisible. It annoys me, and I think it just stems from a childhood thing. I hated when grade school kids were bullying other grade school kids. I was that one kid that said, "Stop it." Yeah. So it really goes into my core.
I could have done with you at school.
What is that?
I could have done with you at school.
Yeah, I would have helped you.
You would have done.
Yes.
I think my answer would be, I agree with everything you both have just said. I think what I would add to that is lack of tolerance of other people. Really irritates me, and hate. We live in a world now where it's so easy to hate with no basis of fact behind it. It's just because they've seen something online. We live in a world where the truth is a lie and the lie becomes the truth. And we're upside down. And how does that ever become right? And you get people that are so easily guided or are so easily steered in a certain direction because of certain views that they go down a rabbit hole of which is very hard to come out of. And they just hate for no reason. They're intolerant of people. There's, because someone's slightly different, they don't tolerate, and it's wrong. And it annoys me because life shouldn't be that way.
Right. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So that would be my answer.
All right.
Good answer.
So the last thing we like to do is kind of an open mic session. Is there, for our listeners, any advice that you'd like to give them? Maybe somebody who's trying to break into the industry, words of wisdom, any mantras you live by?
Just follow your passion. Do the things that make you feel most whole, and honor your creative spirit. To me, I think that's the main thing. Don't do what other people expect of you. Do what you want to do. Just follow that.
While listening to music.
Actually, I just thought of another question. Actually, while we got a little bit of time there. Sorry, I just popped in my head.
Beautiful ending.
It was a beautiful ending, but I'm just going to tack on to that. Did you have a mentor throughout your career? Is it someone that...
I wish I had. I've been asked that before. I really wish I had. Dr. J. Stevenson.
Yeah, exactly.
My 12th grade teacher, or something.
Yeah.
No, again, just following the careers of people that I really enjoy. I'd like to have a great answer for that. Did you? Growing up as a
not as
child?
a child. I did have someone that mentored me.
Like
Okay.
One person.
One person.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty nice.
which was amazing. And unfortunately, I didn't understand a lot of the lessons I was being taught until he passed away.
Yeah.
And then it kind of I got it. It clicked in my head, and I understood what I was being told. And the reason why I understood it is because it wasn't there for me to ask anymore. I had to
Right.
rely on what I'd been told in the past. And it came out, I remembered certain lessons that I'd been taught.
Right.
And it helped. It did, and it still does help me today. Much as my father-in-law, and it's someone that has, it's something that's guided me. Has helped me become more rounded as a human being, and I'm grateful
Right.
for that, because I wouldn't have maybe been the person I am. Not I'm saying it's special, but I wouldn't have grown into who I am, done the things I've done without that sort of guidance.
Yes.
So I had that, and I've tried, because I've had that in my world, I try and give that back to other people. If I can do one good thing every day to help someone out, then my hope is one day they will do one good thing to help someone out, and then that person might do it. So it is part of the pillars of us, is paying it forward,
Absolutely.
Giving something back. Try and illuminate, navigate, help someone navigate certain things, help inspire them to do something, spread a bit of positivity. These are sort of things that Norma and I are doing as a business. It's what I try and do in my day-to-day to help other people on their way. So
That's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah. But what you do is more wonderful, because I do that internally. You get to please millions of people, and that covers all the things I've just said. Your music is inspirational. It guides people. It illuminates. It's all of these things. It's amazing. The talent you have and the gift.
That's your mentor right there. It's your gift.
Your God-given gift is amazing.
No,
it has such an effect on people.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. I mean, it's something that aspect is something I don't really ever consider or think about, because I'm just focused on making the music.
You're just creating. Yeah.
So it's very nice. The Poppy Festival, that was just.
Oh, that was lovely.
So every once in a while, I'm reminded that I'm not getting the job that I wanted, or whatever the other side of it is. I have to remember that there's really good things that are beyond me, that are past my studio and past this experience that I have with these people, that goes on, and so that's really nice. It's nice to feel that every now and again. So thank you.
Good.
And what was lovely, the song that you played, the Ambrosia song, "Biggest Part of Me," when you came on with Randy when we were there on the Friday night.
Is that what we did?
Yeah.
I barely remember that.
It was a fun evening. It
was too much fun.
I remember because I love the song. I hadn't heard it that long before. So to hear it played, it was like, oh my God, it's playing on stage.
Everyone was there. It was like, it was just phenomenal. Yeah. The energy that you guys all had on stage was so cool.
Oh, that was great.
That was really great.
It really came across well.
You mean the band when we were playing music?
Yeah.
But what was particularly fun is because Robert Berry, who was playing bass and singing, he was a local legend in San Jose.
Yes.
So I have a fondness for those people that were in my life early. And then the other gentleman I didn't know, they're from my hood, my area. So there's just this thing, that you experience.
Go back and then,
remember when? Yeah, remember when it was all orchards, apricot orchards,
you're
and
right.
not Ross Dress for Lesses
You're
and
right.
Starbucks. So yeah, that's it. That was a really fun experience for me.
That's a humbling experience to see
Randy there and say the nice things he said and.
Yes.
And man, what a stellar man he is.
Oh, he's great. We'll be having him on our podcast soon. But he's Randy Spenlove is and you could feel nothing but heart, the love that he has, that he gives back to the community, right?
Absolutely.
That's important. Goes back to paying it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, Lyle, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It's been our pleasure.
Oh, so nice. Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate you. And we'll hopefully have you back again later
with a guitar.
On the podcast. With the guitar.
Okay.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come to your studio.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Oh,
that would be fun.
We could do it there.
Yeah, that would be fun. Listen to some tunes. And cut.
Thank you for tuning in to Energist Podcast, where ambition meets achievement. If today's stories energized you, share this episode with someone who needs that spark. Stay connected. Subscribe to our newsletter at NRJMediaGroup.com and follow us on social media for more powerful insights. Until next time, stay inspired, stay bold, and keep striving for greatness.
Energist Podcast is produced and hosted by Norma Garcia and Rich Reed. The incredible talent behind us. We are highly engineered and edited by Rich Evers. Our seriously creative director is none other than David H. Tanaka. Our talented music composer is Steve Devaney. Our devotion to motion graphic designer is Mike Macklin. Our very spirited technical advisor is Tracy Williams. Our amazing marketing manager, Lauren Carter. Our man of many words publicist is Josh Gershman. And introducing our producer's assistant, Blake Mealy. Energist Podcast is brought to you by NRJ Media Group.